Listen up, everybody, okay? Brace yourselves. I would recommend getting a pillow if you have something to squeeze. Someone nearby who loves you. Maybe you want them to be next to you or near you for this, because this is about to get fucking weird, okay? I didn't know about Chris Chan. I didn't know about Sonichu. This was before my time. The first comic came out in like 2000, and then it didn't go viral until 2007. And still, even then, I was a little kid. I did not have internet privileges or anything like that. For this whole story, it literally felt like I was a passenger on the Titanic, and I had never seen an iceberg before. Like, not only am I terrified, but also I'm unfamiliar with what I'm even terrified of. So yes, meet Chris, then Chris Chan. Now they identify as a woman. She goes by Christine Weston Chandler. Most people still know them as Chris Chan, however. But recently, something happened that made me squirm. Listen up, motherfuckers. Oh, I just gave you a hint. Sonichu comic creator allegedly sexually assaulted mom who's 80 and she has dementia. Wow, 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 wow. This sucks. This sounds gross. Basically what happened, extremely disturbing messages, DMs that someone had with this person leaked. Not only did DMs leak, but audio leaked as well. This woman is 80 years old and has dementia. Not only is this incestuous and disgusting, this is blatant. Like, you're blatantly taking advantage of someone who is clearly in no mental capacity to be consenting. Like, not only is it incest, but it's like rape incest. I mean, this is some fucked up shit. Put this in your fucking webcomic, buddy. So it's leaked on Kiwi Farms. We have audio here too. I don't know how much of this audio we really want to get into. These are some of the text messages that were leaked. I'm gonna skip the really disgusting details. She says, tonight I started looking into a more consistent pattern to my massaging, and I took the input and focused on getting blood flow into the groin area. That's one message. We have pages. They're talking about performing oral sex on their mother. This person takes motherfucker to a whole new level. That's supposed to be an insult, not a literal command. How do you put it? Too much information. Why would this person indict themselves to this degree? I mean, there's no nuance here. There's no innuendo. There's no vagary. This is a fucking confession. This is every police officer's dream right here. And then here there appears to be audio. I haven't heard the audio and I'm really scared to listen to it also.
Yeah, she's got really sensitive G-box. Because apparently I don't believe that Mr. C, any of her past boyfriends and ex-husbands, they haven't really reached and hit her G-spot really with their dicks.
Right.
They were more focused on themselves really, as opposed to focusing on her, which that's my focus.
Right.
She's like, I just want to focus on pleasuring her. This is your mom we're talking about. You fucking creep. Being there for your mother and loving your mother, it doesn't look like this. I don't want to speak out of line here, okay? I recognize that I am not a psychologist, but generally speaking, it's generally understood that if you care about someone and you love someone, raping them is not generally a good thing to do. And now on August 2nd, Christine Chan has been arrested. In a statement issued to Newsweek, the county sheriff said, Christine Weston Chandler is currently being held in our Jail West facility on one count of incest and awaiting arraignment in Greene County, Virginia. Christine Chan, okay, has been gender dysphoric for quite some time. I believe that it's been like publicly known or understood that this person has had certain levels of gender dysphoria since I believe like 2011. And since 2016, they have identified as a woman and they have changed their name. So Christine is a woman. She is a trans woman, but she can also be a huge creep and a massive piece of shit. There seems to be this disconnect, particularly on Twitter, where I've been fighting with a couple people, that because a trans person does something gross and disgusting, that somehow gives you a right to completely disregard their gender identity and like actively and maliciously misgender them. The criminality, the bad behavior, has no bearing on their gender identity. We're not going to just start calling Adolf Hitler a her because we can misgender her because she did something bad. I got on Twitter, my terminally online ass. I don't even remember what grass smells like. I don't even remember what grass looks like. I just remember it being green and prickly and these itchy things sticking out of the ground. I don't know. PJ and Jelly, PJ Sandwich, Paul Joseph Watson, posted a screen cap of this person's tweet, obviously intended to clown on them. The fact she raped her mom is definitely the important topic at hand, but people should still be using the right pronouns for her regardless of how deplorable her actions are. And then I dropped in with the flaming hot take. Yes, actually, what she did was disgusting, but it doesn't mean you can choose which trans person is valid based on their good or bad behavior. If a black person did something wrong, you couldn't just call them the N-word. This is not a hard concept to understand. Now, this is true on varying degrees. First of all, I'm not a fan of respectability politics, okay? I don't believe that, like, whether or not you respect a marginalized group's identity is dependent on their behavior. Usually it's not, actually. You'll notice that, like, Paul Joseph Watson, for example, he doesn't like trans people anyway. This is ultimately respectability politics, which is just saying that, well, you did something bad, therefore I can disrespect your identity. And the comparison I made with calling a black person the N-word, I think goes right in line with that. If a black person goes out and commits a crime, it doesn't give you the right to call them the N-word. Calling a black person the N-word, misgendering a trans person based on their behavior, regardless, it's disrespecting, disregarding, and attacking their identity based on their behavior. It does not make sense. We don't operate like this in society either. I'm not saying you have to fucking defend this person, nothing like that. I'm just saying it doesn't make sense. Like, it wouldn't make sense if a guy commit a crime to then be like, ha, look at that woman. Well, they did something bad. Why should I respect their gender identity? Like, it's just, huh? It doesn't make sense. But of course, a lot of people, either like, I don't know if they're TERFs or what, have been getting so mad at me. You racist whores always use black people to make your point. It's just like, what? One, nothing I said was racist. I am merely explaining that you don't disrespect people's identity, generally, based on their behavior. That's just not how it works. Not an ex-fascist. I was never a fascist. Anyone saying that I was one is an idiot. Acting like he has the right to even speak about people of color, let alone use us as pawns after the disgusting things he spread about our cultures. So yeah, this tweet, I stand by it. It's correct. It is the right take. Hopefully some of these dum-dums get in my Discord and we can chat. What Christine Chan did was gross AF. Doesn't give you the right to disrespect their gender identity. Just doesn't. It's not how it works. Sorry. So you disagree with my take on the pronoun thing?
Just specifically with Chris Chan, and I want to clarify that the guy that was on earlier, he hit upon a few points that are pretty well known about Chris Chan. So to clarify, Chris Chan started coming out at maybe 2011, I believe was the official year he started exploring it. At
Yeah.
first,
Yeah,
himself
you're right.
yeah. First, he called himself a Tom girl.
Yep.
So there was that as well. But so Chris Chan has this habit of channeling different fictional characters and also their past self.
Do they usually channel these fictional characters for like years at a time?
At one point, they were Sonichu for months. They were also their past self at specific points, and
Okay,
also
has it ever
he's
gone on for
he
like years though?
almost a year before. It was like 9 months, and Chris was
Okay.
using he him pronouns during that time.
Okay, so the longest time that seemed like that was 9 months. This has been going on now for like 4 years, right? So
Yeah, this has been going on for a while.
the thing is with the other caller too is like you're both probably right that this person has some like weird like delusions and might be like have a screw loose here and there, but like unless we know that for sure, and unless you know that they're like delusional and lying about being trans, even though now they've been trans for like 4 years, it just seems like it doesn't make sense to not just recognize and respect their gender identity. Like, this is such a non-issue in my opinion. Like, obviously, the fucked up part of all this is that they abused their mother, and that's what really we should be focusing on. But like, yeah, I don't know. I just don't like unless you were able to literally prove that they were lying about being trans specifically. That doesn't really mean anything.
I mean, I think we can come to a reasonable conclusion based on their past history. A good example is consistently since Chris Chan's first appearance, they have been soliciting people in public and asking for, a boyfriend-free girl, and all that stuff. And over time, what we see is we see Chris Chan attempting to uh, portray themselves as more feminine over time
Could
and
they have gender
gentler in
dysphoria at the
order.
time?
We don't even know if Chris has confirmed gender dysphoria. Like, I'm not even sure Chris has actually been diagnosed.
It just seems as if like you're aware that they've been experimenting with their gender identity now since at least 2011, and now you're bringing up that like they were acting more feminine at times. If anything, that proves my point.
Well, well, no. What I'm saying is that they had been acting more feminine in an attempt to become closer with women.
So you think that Chris Chan is doing this for like the 4 years to get closer to girls?
Partially. I mean, maybe there's some legit gender dysphoria behind that. I don't know for sure, obviously, but I think that in general, when we have a person that consistently lies and manipulates in order to try to get with women, um, just in general, like he
But how has
literally
this helped? Do we
insinuated.
know that this has helped them get with women at all? Again, we're
We
talking about someone who came out formally in 2016 and is still identifying that way.
Yeah, and Chris Chan has also been identifying as the incarnation of the Commodore console from Hyperdimension Neptunia, which is an anime for like
Right, which
a
is a
couple
completely
couple
different
years
thing
now.
also because that isn't even like a real identity or even a gender identity to begin with. But
I agree.
either way, it's
But
like
what I'm
eh, so they were transgender to get with women that like, but what happened? Like they hooked up with their mom? They were trans so they
uh,
could get with their mom?
so not specifically to hook up with her mom. So Chris Chan has had. Are you familiar with like the history surrounding Chris Chan and his relationships with
No,
women in general?
in fairness, I am not very familiar with this person at all. I just know that they've been identifying as trans for like 4 or 5 years, and there seems to be no reason to not just recognize that and be like, okay, yeah, they're trans, whatever. Like it's who cares? They can be trans and still be a fucking creep. Like it's not like being trans absolves them from being like a bad person.
No, and I totally agree. But I think that specifically in Chris's case, we have a lot of, sorry, Chris Chan, we have a lot of reason the to doubt the actual trans identity. Just because, and I'm gonna go through some older history. So, for example, he was friends with a girl named Megan way back when, who he had been attempting to get closer with. General, Chris um, insinuated that if Megan didn't go out with them, they would potentially have sexually assaulted Megan, and also in an attempt to get even closer, they would often apologize and try to portray themselves in different ways in order to try to get back in this girl Megan's life.
I mean,
And
this
over
is
time,
ultimately okay. Listen, we don't need to go through the whole history. I recognize that this person is creepy. Obviously, they fucking raped their mom. They're not a good person. I recognize that they've probably done a lot of manipulative and gross shit in the past. But, like, what you're saying is, well, they once told a lie or they were once deceptive here, so maybe now they're lying about their gender identity. If we wanted to take that route, we could, but then we'd have to do it with virtually every trans person. If someone else comes out and says, hey, I'm trans, and they've been identifying that way for 4 years, if we go back and find when they may have identified as bisexual or they may have identified as something differently, that doesn't give us the right to then be like, look, you lied once, you were inconsistent, therefore now I doubt your current identity. It just doesn't work that way.
well, that's not at all what I'm suggesting. Let me
But it
clarify.
is. It's what would follow from what you're suggesting.
Yeah, that probably would follow without the context behind this particular situation.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so again, when you have a person that is consistently changing their identity for years in order to try to get with women, mind you, not just based on what these women or what they think these women are comfortable with, but also based on what trolls have been telling them. So trolls have been suggesting for years that Chris Chan is trans. They have also been suggesting for years that Chris Chan is gay, bisexual, and over time, as Chris Chan comes out and uses extra identifiers, it seems to be in line with what trolls have been suggesting to Chris Chan.
Okay, so
Just
apparently
because,
here I'm actually seeing that they are using hormones.
yeah, they had been using hormones, um, and I'm not sure that in this case that's necessarily
It sounds like they may
something
have
that's
got used
related to
like
being
a.
trans.
It sounds like they may have like used a loophole to get them. So there's that. But I
Yeah,
don't know. We're
and
talking about someone who's now expressed signs of gender dysphoria since 2011, has identified as trans since 2016 consistently for the last 4 or 5 years, and is now also going on hormones. It sounds like this is a trans person, dude.
I mean, so maybe maybe there's this case where this person has been convinced that they are trans
Maybe
by
you
other
could
people.
that if
Um,
you can go that route, but that would be a conspiracy because we have no evidence of that at all.
well, Chris Chan is very susceptible to doing what trolls tell them to do. For example, Chris Chan shoved a Sonichu medallion up their ass because trolls suggested that they do that.
Do you think that that's
Um,
a little different than identifying differently for 4 consistent years and then going on hormones?
it
Because
is
a troll
different.
told you to do that? Like,
It
there
is
are a lot of
different,
people
but
that do dumb shit when trolls tell them to do it or pay them via super chat to do it. But, like, again, this doesn't mean that a troll set Chris Chan up to identify differently for 4 years and then express
what I'm
signs of gender dysphoria since 2011. Like, this,
what I'm
no.
suggesting is that the entire troll community has been doing that for a very long time.
All right.
And even before Chris Chan came out as trans, they've been suggesting that Chris Chan has been trans and would have been better off born as a woman and all that for like literal years. Like it's been going on consistently since people started
Just
harassing
if
Chris
there are
Chan.
trolls who harass them doesn't mean that they were pressured by trolls to become transgender. Again, I just like the key things that I keep repeating because I think that they're very crucial to my argument. One of which were you admitted they expressed signs of gender dysphoria since 2011. This has been going on for a while here. And the thing is, again, you're probably correct about the majority of what you're saying. This person does sound like someone who's generally might be a little bit kooky and also seems to be pretty susceptible to what trolls say. Sure, but that doesn't mean that they're delusional and doing what a troll said in this instance. You don't have any evidence of that.
Well, sure, but we could also go the route and argue that we don't have evidence for any of the instances where Chris Chan has been trolled into believing that they are something other than just a normal human person. Like we could argue that, for example, maybe Chris came up with the identity of their fictional husband, Maggie Chan, on their own, and despite having identified as Maggie Chan on several different occasions and also using he/him pronouns while identifying as Maggie Chan. If you scroll through Chris as Chan,
I don't know.
See
Yeah,
a
it
bunch of
sounds like
different
this.
instances of this.
I recognize that this person has done some, they're currently doing fucked up shit, and they've done some kooky, nutty shit. But again, I just think that at the end of the day, it would just be inference based on like previous behavior, and it's just doesn't usually work that way with gender identity. But either way, hey man, I really appreciate you coming on. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and click the bell so you get notified when I drop a new video.